My guest today is Anya Nova. Anya is the head of blockchain development and staking at Powerledger, which of course is an Australian-based energy trading startup and quite an interesting project. So I'm excited to learn more about Powerledger today. Welcome to the show, Anya.
Hi, Andy. It's really nice to be here.
Nice to have you here, and you've got quite an interesting background and interesting bio, actually, Anya. So it says here in my notes that you were the recipient of the 2019 Australian Blockchain Leader of the Year. You're obviously part of Powerledger's leadership team responsible for fostering global partnerships. And what I find interesting about this also is prior to Powerledger, Anya, you had a commercial background in, I think, the resources sector, but more specifically Shell, Rio Tinto, some of those kind of companies, which is quite a contrast to the work you're doing now at Powerledger. So interested to kind of hear some of your story and how all this works. I said you're Australian based, but you are not Australian, are you?
Well, I'm Australian now, and Perth, Western Australia is really my home, but I was born in Russia on an island north of Japan in the Pacific. So you could say I'm from an island. And then I left Russia when I was 15. I moved to the United States and I lived in Alaska, out of all places. So not necessarily the epicenter of technology, but I really enjoyed my time there. So doing a lot of winter sports, and I studied finance and worked for Merrill Lynch, and then went into oil and gas, which is what you did in Alaska. And I started working with Shell in various commercial roles. So a lot of commercial negotiations for large contracts. When I moved to Australia, I worked for Rio Tinto, which is a mining company here. And again, negotiated commercial arrangements and managed a team of procurement specialists. And probably about that time in my career, I was thinking a lot about what I want to do and the kind of impact I want to have, and wasn't 100% aligned with some of the work that Shell and Rio Tinto were doing in terms of sustainability. I felt like I should be doing more. And when an opportunity came up to start work with Powerledger, I was just really excited about it because it was on the intersection of technology and sustainability, which is what I'm really passionate about.
Absolutely, Anya. So take us back. What year is this roughly? Like how long has Powerledger been going, and when did you get involved?
So Powerledger has actually been around for 6 years. So it's one of the more permanent and one of the more enduring projects in the crypto space.
Yes.
And in 2017, they ran Australia's first ICO, raised $34 million. And I joined them in February 2018.
Okay. Yes, I do. I do remember that ICO, and you're exactly right. I do remember Powerledger from back in those 2017, 2018 ICO days. So it's good to see. I haven't really caught up with the Powerledger story too recently, so it's good to get an update on where you guys are at and what you're doing. So I think it's probably a good time then, Anya, if you maybe give me and of course the listeners the kind of the high level summary overview of what Powerledger is and what the vision is and how you hope to save the world, right?
Yeah, of course. So Powerledger got started because it was clear to the founders there is an opportunity to facilitate transition to decentralized energy systems. Because as you're probably aware, as long as humanity's been around, we've always had centralized systems where there is a power plant producing energy, and then we are the people that are just accepting this energy and paying for that. So very much a centralized system. And that centralized system had its benefits, but over the last several years, probably a decade, as the price of solar panels came down, the price of batteries came down, a lot of people and a lot of households are becoming their own power plants in essence. So they're producing energy at their home. Sometimes they're consuming all of that. Sometimes there is excess. So there was no marketplace to actually facilitate the sale of that excess. So I, as an individual might be producing energy at the time when it's needed, but then I'm actually not paid for that excess energy at all by my retailer, or maybe paid a tariff that they have determined. So it's clear that, looking forward, maybe 10 years from now, or it's actually happening, faster than that, that's no longer going to be something that people would be willing to accept. So I want to set a price on my energy when I'm selling it. So let's say I'm selling it to the neighbor. I want to say, well, as long as you pay me 15 cents per kilowatt hour, I'm happy to do that. So that's the major application of the Powerledger technology when it first started. So that's our peer-to-peer energy trading product. And that's still a flagship product. It's really amazing because it's getting validation, in particular in Asia and in Europe, where in Europe there is a legislation now around energy communities. So energy communities is something where people should be able to trade energy with each other. And there is all this, I guess, projects such as ours that are rushing into this space because it will be quite a major growing space. So that's the first application of the Powerledger technology and the first use case we're going after. And the second one is a lot about the trading of sustainability credits. So you probably heard of carbon credits or RECs. So carbon credit is 1 ton of carbon offset, and a REC is 1 megawatt hour of clean energy produced. And of course, that space is growing rapidly, so forecasted to reach $200 billion in the near future. Yet there is an opportunity to further validate and verify and certify the provenance of those credits. So if you're a large corporation that has committed to sustainability, you say, every year I will be offsetting my energy use by purchasing those credits. You really want to make sure that the credits you're purchasing have been validated. That's not always been the case. And that's something that we addressing by basically linking to the smart meter or to the registry that holds the credits, and then making sure that the entire provenance is, time stamped, location stamped, and then the ownership of those credits are tracked up to the point of retiring those credits against the obligations. So that's just 2 of the major use cases of our technology, and then there are others that have more to do with localized energy markets.
Sure, thank you, Anya. And so, is this? Do you think? Obviously, Powerledger, as we've discussed, has been around for 4 or 5 years now. But what I think you guys have been slightly ahead of the curve of is this new movement, or this new term, which I'm seeing more and more, Anya, refi, or regenerative finance, right? Would you characterize Powerledger and equivalent other businesses as part of refi?
That's I think a pretty good term to use. We're basically helping people to get paid quicker on the investment into renewable technologies. So that's certainly one aspect of the technology.
Sure. And so you talked about how there's kind of 2 main business streams, if you like, for Powerledger. One is kind of the peer-to-peer energy trading model, and the other is the I guess the carbon token trading model, and the retiring of those carbon credits. So talk to me about the kind of the progress that you guys are making in terms of those 2 particular streams of business, Anya.
So we have quite a few customers now, over 20 customers in probably 10 different countries. Across both of those use cases. The TraceX platform, which is the platform for verifying, trading, and retiring of tokenized carbon credits and tokenized RECs, is launching, and it's pretty exciting because we have a number of big multinationals signed up to be some of the first users of that. So if anyone's interested to follow that journey, it's best to be on our Telegram channel or YouTube, where you can learn everything about the TraceX functionality. But I think it's just fantastic because the blockchain technology was originally developed in order to secure digital assets of high value, and some of those credits could be traded for hundreds of dollars. Yet there is, a need for additional transparency. So by tokenizing those credits at the source and allowing people to transact on the TraceX platform, not only they get that auditability, but they also potentially get much faster payment, and without the intermediaries that are currently dominating this market.
Absolutely. Well, so make the case, make the business case then, Anya, just in case there's anybody listening that is kind of pricking up their ears and thinking, well, maybe they're already offsetting their carbon use. There are a number of ways that businesses and individuals, of course, can do that, as you know, Anya. But who is the target market, I suppose, then for, let's talk about the carbon offsetting use case first. Like who's the target market, and what kind of individuals or businesses can get involved with your offering, and what should they do, and make the case to them.
Well, I think first off, it's multinationals that are already purchasing those credits. So it's anyone who wants more transparency in their purchasing process and who want to save money on their purchasing process. So let's say I'm a large company like Pepsi Cola, and I have a budget allocated to that. So I might be contacting a broker and saying, well, this is how many credits I need to purchase. The broker might bring me a deal. So those deals can be quite slow in terms of execution. So it's signing that agreement, negotiating. There is a lot of kind of fat built into that process. It's not as fast as it could be. So it's basically bypassing some of the brokers and then going directly to the marketplace that has an order book in which you can transact, and you can select credits that you need based on your requirements, maybe geographically. So some companies now make a commitment not just to be carbon neutral over a period of a year and across all of their location, but they're starting to make commitments such as Google that I'm going to be carbon neutral for every location in which I operate, and maybe even for every hour. So that's, we're now talking a little bit about the future of this and where it's going, but certainly anyone who's already making large purchases, that would be a user of TraceX. Another user could be a generator who wants to be selling those tokenized carbon credits to the market directly. And another user, which I'm personally very excited about, is individuals. They could be investing in this new asset class. So it is possible for people, even now, there is no necessarily legal issues with individuals investing in those credits. Let's say you think there's going to be a bit of a squeeze in a particular area and there's going to be high demand for those tokenized credits in the future. You could be buying some and holding them and selling them at a higher price, but it's just, there is no place where that could be conveniently done by individuals. And by tokenizing those credits, we could be listing some of them on more traditional exchanges in addition to TraceX. And people could either be, doing that for a profit motive, or they could be doing that because they believe in sustainability and believe that because those credits are an additional income source for renewable energy generators, they could be supporting renewable energy generators by purchasing them.
So, Anya, the same way then that, Ethereum and DeFi, I guess, is kind of disrupting the traditional legacy financial market by just making it much more efficient, and we'll have lesser need for banks or people in the middle. Effectively, you guys are doing the same thing to the carbon industry here then by tokenizing those carbon credits. What is the reaction from the existing brokers that are facilitating carbon offsetting at the moment?
Well, I think it's largely positive because they see that this is the future and they can benefit from that marketplace. And they could be still providing the kind of VIP specialized service to companies that do want to outsource that process, but they also understand that there's going to be companies that do want to come onto the platform and transact directly. So I think anyone who has seen the transition from, you used to purchase shares through your broker, and now some people opt in for purchasing shares directly through marketplaces. They see that the similar thing will be happening with RECs and carbon credits.
Yeah, makes sense then, Anya. I'd love to understand a little bit more about Powerledger itself, in terms of what you guys, what blockchains you're using. I believe you started as an Ethereum token, or the Powerledger token is an Ethereum-based token, but I've seen some discussion of a move perhaps to Solana. I also know that proof of stake is a large part of what you guys are doing, which makes sense given that you're really in the sustainability business. So in that context, what's going on with you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, it's actually even goes earlier, before Ethereum, because the company has been around for 6 years. The very original, the very first proof of concept trial that we've done was actually done on the Bitcoin blockchain, believe it or not. And then when Ethereum became more available, we have transitioned to our own permissioned version of Ethereum. And more recently, about a year ago, we have seen the issues that Ethereum has been experiencing in terms of really high gas costs and scalability. And we realized that in terms of us being able to offer and continue to offer our services to enterprise customers who might have hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, because a lot of the transactions that we actually facilitate come off the smart meters, and the smart meters are pushing data faster and faster. So there is a tendency there towards real-time data. One of our clients was pushing data to us in 5-second intervals. We really needed a highly scalable blockchain. So we have done basically a review of what was available in the market that was open source at the time. And Solana stood out as a very interesting blockchain, where the proof of history that they have incorporated meant that you only validating transactions. You don't actually have to validate the timestamp of those transactions. So that meant it's, not only is it faster, but it's also potentially a much greener blockchain, because it is doesn't require very extensive hardware usage. And we have started a process of transitioning to a Solana code base. So not to the mainnet, but basically working to implement the Solana base code and transition our applications to that layer. So we call it the Powerledger chain. And the transition is actually complete. So we have launched the Powerledger chain. We haven't done the big announcement yet. There is already 12 nodes verifying that chain, and we will be going public very soon. At the same time, we will be announcing the power staking. So enabling our community, there's about 50,000 wallets that currently have Power token in them. So enabling them to stake and to provide that security service.
Fantastic, fantastic. Sounds great. Well, look, I'm interested, Anya, in your thoughts really about, how you see, I suppose, the planet or humanity's transition to renewable energy. That is certainly one of the goals of, I think, the human race at the moment. I mean, various people are much more invested in trying to make that happen compared to others. Well, I guess, I just mean some people are moving faster, whereas some are moving slower. Some can see the urgency and some cannot. I know this is like a, it's a big topic. It's a controversial topic even, Anya. But where do you think we are in terms of that transition to renewable energy? And do you have a hope or faith even that we're on the right track and we will get there before some kind of existential climate crisis or something like that? What do you think?
Well, that's a pretty big question there. So I think the transition is well on its way. I don't think it should happen at all costs. I think there are energy systems in place, and those energy systems are very important for all of us. So we wouldn't want to be left without electricity and without internet for any part of the day. So it's important that we do that transition in a very well thought out and a gradual way. I think there needs to be both, obviously the physical requirements for that, such as more renewable energy assets need to exist, but there also needs to be economic transition. So the right kind of price signal that is sent to the market to let energy generators know when to produce, how much to produce, when to stop producing. So we're in that space, we're in that price signal side of the market. I'm certainly hopeful that we won't have any cataclysmic event in the next long while, and that we will transition in time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all hope that, Anya. So we've talked about proof of stake, right? And in crypto, the narrative, of course, is that proof of stake is a much more environmentally friendly blockchain, certainly when compared to a proof of work, which the dominant proof of work chain, of course, being Bitcoin. But there's an emerging narrative also, Anya, that Bitcoin mining can potentially incentivize this switch to renewable energy as well, simply by, of course, a lot of kind of renewable energy sources or potential sources around the world are, they're stranded, they're in strange places, they're away from population centers, all that kind of stuff. But of course, if you can just Bitcoin miners are easily transportable, so you can take them to those locations. They're location agnostic and kind of kickstart those energy sources. What do you think about that narrative?
I think it's a valid narrative. I don't personally have anything against proof of work. I think it's a consensus mechanism that has been very well thought out, and it has secured billions of dollars worth of value. It absolutely has the right to exist and to continue to exist. Proof of stake is less proven, and as large players transition to that, we'll see, well, is it able to secure in a decentralized, not censorship resistant way, in the way that proof of work has been able to secure value? And I think it will be. In terms of the role that the Bitcoin miners can play, I think you are spot on. So some assets actually generate excess energy, and they're not always doing anything useful with it. So they could just be dumping that excess energy. And if there was a Bitcoin miner at the time who could switch on and off, there could be a very good relationship there. That exists, a symbiotic relationship where, as long as the price for Bitcoin miners of electricity falls below a certain level, it's economic for them to mine. And if it goes above that, maybe they stop mining. So there's going to be that need for agility, and they can provide that. They also could incentivize further investment in renewables. I believe in that. And I think there's going to be potentially a movement to certify Bitcoins as being green Bitcoins, and there's quite a bit been written on that. And we'll just have to see if the market responds to that. So in the end, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So if there is enough buyers there who want to differentiate Bitcoins between a regular one and a green one, then obviously, that will incentivize more Bitcoin miners to get certified as green. There's, of course, challenges to be solved there around how do we manage pools and what mining pools, and what do we do about that? And whether or not some of the mining might move to countries that already have really high percentage of renewables. So what I've also been thinking about is that some of the proof of stake blockchains can actually also support energy transition by just making sure that they are carbon neutral and making a commitment to carbon neutrality. So Powerledger chain has made a commitment to carbon neutrality. So even though we already have very low energy usage, and we also talk to our nodes about their location and whether or not by being plugged into the grid in their location, they're already maybe 30% renewable, 50%, 80%, and then have a system in place where we offset the rest through the purchase of renewable energy certificates.
Yes, fascinating, Anya. Thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, very interesting what you're talking about with the Bitcoin green coins, if you like. I certainly can see that being a intense topic for debate in the near future. I don't know how that affects Bitcoin's fungibility, right? But
yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We could have like green Bitcoins, non-green Bitcoins, dirty Bitcoins that have been in darknet markets, and yeah, it starts to get a bit weird when we go down that path. Yeah. But yeah, all right. Well, let's.
You also got to think about some of the blockchains like Ripple, Hedera, Algorand that have made a very public commitment about being fully not just carbon neutral but carbon negative. So I think you'll see any blockchain that is pitching to the enterprise market inevitably making a similar commitment, because it's hard to imagine any enterprise customer who wants to trial decentralized ledgers, going with a ledger that is not making a commitment.
Yeah, very much the case, and in the case of Ripple, certainly you even get the Ripple CEO or co-founder, whatever he is, effectively funding a kind of a Greenpeace campaign that was anti-proof of work even. Anyway, as we finish off this part of the podcast, Anya, look, just before we go to the break, tell me, I suppose, what you're working on at the moment at Powerledger. Anything new in the pipeline, any new developments, what should people look out for?
Well, the biggest thing, of course, and something I've been working on directly with a team of blockchain engineers, is launching staking. So very exciting, a little bit nerve-wracking, but we are well on our way to announce it very shortly. But it's because the Power token, which is listed on Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, is an ERC20 token and will remain an ERC token. But the Powerledger chain is a Solana-based chain. We had to build additional functionality, additional bridging functionality. And as you know, this space, a lot of bridges have been hacked in the past. So we have spent a lot of time just pretty much leaving no stone unturned and checking that both our front end, our Java component, the Powerledger chain work perfectly in unison. So I'm very happy with where I'm at, with where we're at. I just looked this morning at our staking website. It basically allows you to connect to both the Ethereum chain with just 2 buttons. So super happy with the interface, because I find that if you want individuals who maybe have never staked before to stake for the first time, you need to just make it, super simple. And we've run tests on people who literally never even had crypto before, and they've been able to use the website. So connect their MetaMask and then connect their Solana-based wallets, such as Phantom, for example, and that bridges that, and they're able to stake with one of the validators, earning the staking rewards that we have committed to providing for at least the next 4 years. So we continue in internal testing, and that's gone live to the market in the next few weeks.
Fantastic. Sounds great. All right, well, let's go to a very quick break, Anya, and then we'll come back. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off. We'll run you through the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round. And there you go. We are back. And if you're watching on YouTube, we've probably been here the whole time. But I'm with today Anya Nova. Anya is the head of blockchain development and staking at the Aussie-based Powerledger. And Anya, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
I'm a bit scared, but sure.
No need to be scared, Anya. I'm just going to run some quick questions by you. Just want your quick hot take style, honest responses is all we need to do. Question 1 is, Anya, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
These are 2 completely different things, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm not a maximalist.
No, I didn't think you were. All right. Well, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion, Anya?
Well, I think what the space made me think about is that there is a thin line between doing something really valuable and worthwhile, and people using the same language that you're using to describe this something really worthwhile, such as securing a chain, and just basically scamming individuals. So I think, like, for example, even the word staking, we were talking about, well, what is staking? On one hand, it's securing a chain. On the other hand, anyone can spin up a website and call it, stake here. And all it really does is like a roulette. You put that many tokens in, you get that many, double the tokens out. So there's terminology, and what it's actually meant, I think, is very important in crypto.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Anya, and it's kind of the same thing, and particularly with I guess DeFi and this kind of search for yield. We'll talk about this a bit. Everyone is obviously looking for yield, but there's sometimes a fine line between a real yield and not so real, maybe based on a scam yield, or yeah, I don't know. Sometimes the lines do get blurry. But Anya, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10, right? So with that in mind, energy markets, decentralized energy markets, what do you think it all looks like in 10 years' time?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I know what I want it to be. I want to have an app on my phone where I'm able to buy my energy on demand. Instead of being committed to a particular retailer, I want to have notifications, kind of like Airbnb has notifications. If you buy energy if you book this room now, you're going to get like 30% discount. So I want to be able to have the power in my hands fully and in the hands of energy users, and just basically be able to get the best deal on a like almost real-time basis. And I think that is coming.
Yep, that sounds exciting. I would love to see that world as well. Flip side of that, of course, Anya, is this quote by William Gibson, who said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
Well, I don't know. I have a funny answer to that one. So my friend yesterday showed up to a picnic with a one wheel. So it's basically like an electric scooter, but just with more of a surfboard feeling. And I've tried it on for a bit and I thought, oh, wow, this is like, it feels amazing. It gets you everywhere. And, the quality of the roads and the quality of the bike paths around Perth are just, world level, like maybe some of the best in the world. So I'm just thinking almost everyone is going to not just ditch their, regular car for an EV. They might even ditch their EV car for like one of those scooters, and we'll just see them everywhere. And that's how people will be transporting. There will be potentially, plugs everywhere to charge your scooter. So we've seen that in Perth. I'm sure you maybe seen that in New Zealand already, but I think it will be ubiquitous.
Absolutely. Electric mountain bikes, that's the way to go, I reckon. Yeah. Anya. Let's zoom out. Let's get weird for a second. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
I'm a really big sci-fi fan. So nice. I'm reading Adrian Tchaikovsky, the Architect series right now, and I just finished the three-body problem. And nice. I don't know if you read that, but that book just blew my mind. And I just watched Star Wars Han Solo last night. So I believe it's real. Like, I think we'll be flying between solar systems. I think we'll start thinking not in, just our human terms. Like, how much does an average person plan ahead? Maybe 2 years, I don't know. And as a human race, maybe we'll plan ahead 30 years. I think we'll start planning ahead in like hundreds or maybe even thousands of years, and we'll become an interstellar species.
I love it. I love it, Anya. And, that brings us, not surprisingly, to the final question. So I'll be fascinated to see what you've got to say, Anya. But the final question is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, TV show, or universe?
Well, it's the hands down the three-body problem, and then the Death's End and the Dark Forest series.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think, a number of people have gone for the three-body problem in the, over 200 episodes that I've asked that question. And I think whenever someone says it, I always say, I really need to read that book. So just remind me, it's by a Chinese author, translated from Chinese, isn't it?
That's right. But he really thought through the technical details. He really thought through the socioeconomic impacts. His name is, I think, Qiu Liu. Might not be saying that correctly. And if you want another trilogy, another great one is Annihilation by a US author. So there was a movie made on that one, and it's basically very different, but again, going into this alien world.
Awesome. Sounds great. We'll have to look that up, see if we can put a link in the show notes. Thank you for coming on the show today, Anya. Nothing else to say really except hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Again, please tell the listeners where they can find you on Twitter or wherever else on the internet you like to hang out. And again, you know what they should do if they want to learn more about what you and your team are building with Powerledger.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Anya_Nova, same on Telegram. I would really suggest that people sign up to the Powerledger announcement channel on Telegram and also visit our website, which is powerledger.io.
Awesome. Let's do that. Thank you very much, Anya. All the best and bye for now.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, there you go. That was Anya from Powerledger coming to us from Perth. Quite a fascinating idea, Powerledger. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they can keep going with this project to build out decentralized energy markets. Huge undertaking, obviously a very big need for it across the world. And look, they're 5 years deep in the game at this point. So hey, can't do anything but wish them the very best. Thank you, listeners, for listening here at the end of the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But for now, that's us. We are out of here. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. See you.